And I am live, coming to you from beautiful downtown, whatever the highway outside of Dulles, which, as you can see, is packed with traffic at 10:30 at night on April 27th, 2025. But anyway, once again, I've come down to beautiful Dulles, Virginia, and I'm kind of feeling the last 3 weeks that business is kind of getting back to normal. I don't want to jinx it, but I had a couple of decent weeks, not in a row. I didn't have like two good weeks in a row. That would be asking too much. But I did have some couple good weeks, even though I'm fighting with Costa Rica all the time over the billing. But I spoke to my management today, and they're like, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it. It's all on Costa Rica. Blame it on Costa Rica." So this is the reality is they're going to continue to try to chisel me out of every nickel they possibly can, and no one's going to stand up for me. No management is going to stand up for us drivers. So this is the way it is. Anyway, we're here, and we got a show to do. And this week is one of those weeks where, once again, I have a ridiculous amount of material to show you, and I have to decide like what to show and what not to show. And so, man, where do we go? Where do we go? I have to try to figure out what's most important. Well, I guess right now, where are we? We're at like 92,000. Bitcoin's at about $92,000. So, last week we're at 82. Today we're at 92. So, kind of a pump, and that's good. Putting out the memes are popping up, such as this, and everyone's interested in what's going to happen next. And what's going to largely happen next, I think, is not too nothing too dramatic. I mean, everyone's trying to just like stay calm, right? Donald Trump, or rather, probably Secretary of Treasury Bassett, warned China, don't dump all your U.S. bonds as a response to the tariffs. But China has a long history of getting pushed around by the West, and I don't know if they see it as white people in general, or if they understand that the tribe is behind this. But I saw this video. This is something that we all sort of know, we covered before. But there's a couple few details in here about legalization that I thought were interesting. And I mentioned that China right now, they're super confident, and they run on and on. Oh, we've got 5,000 years of history. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but they like to say that. And but I pointed out that for most of those 5,000 years, the elites in China were just primarily keeping their people weak and incapable, because that's how they like it. Your rulers like you weak and incapable. That way they can exploit you. But every now and then an outside group comes along, and they're better at exploiting you than your leaders. And this was China, whatever, like 100, 200 years ago.
In the 1800s, Britain had a problem. They loved Chinese tea, but China didn't want British goods in return. Instead, Britain smuggled opium into China, creating millions of addicts. The Chinese emperor tried to stop it, leading to war. In 1839, China destroyed British opium shipments. Britain responded with warships, and with superior firepower, they easily defeated China. The 1842 Treaty of Nanjing forced China to open trade, give up Hong Kong, and pay massive reparations. A second war followed in 1856, ending in 1860. The Treaty of Tientsin and the Convention of Peking forced China to legalize opium, open more ports to foreign trade, and allow Westerners to travel freely. This made China even weaker, marking the start of its century of humiliation.
So it looks like the chopstick jockeys are going to try and make up for that. Although they're not up against Britain, they're up against America. But the same co-ethnics run both of those countries. I didn't know that they had a good. Imagine someone floods your country with drugs, and not only do you have to give up part of your territory, Hong Kong, you have to pay them reparations. Like, you know, if you think you hate them, you don't hate them enough. And then, you know, you try to fight back again weekly a second time, and they actually make you legalize poisoning your own fucking people, you know, and giving your enemies free reign across your fucking country. That is the type of people that we are up against. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to be lost here, because the Chinese emperor, he attempted to fight back. Like, how the fuck did the Chinese lose a war with gunpowder? They invented fucking gunpowder. Like, do you understand? They invented gunpowder and they did nothing with it. They didn't develop like a robust military, because, you know, that might threaten the emperor and somebody might take over. So best to keep everyone helpless and just make them pay taxes, right? Which they did, and everything was going great until the Rothschilds and the Sassoons decided they wanted to export their poison into China and extract tea and other valuables from the Middle Kingdom. And it was easier. It was fairly easy to do, you know. And your leaders will sell you out every fucking single time. It's not like the emperor said, well, I'm a slant-eyed chopstick jockey and I got a kingdom full of slant-eyed chopstick jockeys. We all got to stick together because I'm their emperor and I think about them day and night, and I'm really, you know, really concerned about them. He's like, nah, fuck it. You want to make them all into junkies? Make them all into junkies. Just leave me alone. Just leave me in the palace to do whatever I want to do. And you guys can run across the country making every young man a thief and every young woman a prostitute. What the fuck? That's fine. I'm cool with that. As long as I stay emperor. And that is the reality most people cannot face. They cannot face that. The understanding that no one is better, no one is more moral, no one is better than their incentives. And if that breaks your heart, it's because you believe in political fairy tales. You believe in nationalism or some other fucking political fucking fairy tale, which, you know, you can afford to believe in for a while, but eventually the fairy tales have to end. Eventually you have to figure out Santa Claus is not real. The Easter Bunny's not coming. You know what I mean? The Tooth Fairy is really your mom putting the money underneath the pillow, right? And those three shocks early on were a lot for most people, and they haven't quite recovered. So you're an adult, and, you know, the way you recover from finding out that the Tooth Fairy was really your mom is you believe in republicanism or Pan-Africanism or whatever, some bullshit, some gay bullshit that you pretend to believe in because it comforts you, and it keeps you from seeing the way the world really is, you know, and seeing the people put over you for what they really are. You just don't want to see it. And you know, that's unfortunate, but that is the reality. That is the reality. And and you end up fighting with a whole bunch of other people over stupid shit, um, over absolutely stupid shit. Um, Meanwhile, you know, the the understanding that every form of governance right now is really super corrupted. It's just beyond corrupted. There is no set of rules or laws or cultural customs or whatever the fuck that can overcome the desire for gain. That just hasn't been done. The idea that you can, I'm in the wrong fucking lane here. Stop behind the fucking truck. That has the ability to dramatically increase their material wealth by giving up, you know, everything. Listen, they'll give up their families, they'll give up anything, everything, to stay on top. And people don't want to believe that. You want to believe that this guy's different. Oh, you know, this guy who recites the same political fairy tale that I like to hear, he would never do that. But you know, if you're willing to live in a world where the economic system is designed to steal from you every day of your life, steal from your parents, your grandparents, your brother, your sister, everyone, because there's a money printer and there's some guys that run that money printer and they can print as much as they want for free, and you have to work your entire life to make a fraction of what these guys print by pressing a button. If you're comfortable living like that, and you just think, well, gee whiz, as long as it's not the Jews that are in charge, you know, if it could be just guys who look like me and recite the same political fairy tale as me that I like to hear, you know, then everything will be great. If that's you, you're really a gay communist. That's why I call you gay communists, because if you're willing to live in that world, if you say, you know, if it occurs to you, holy shit, I'm being robbed every day of my life. I'm being forced to use a currency that steals from me literally every day of my life, making my time, my efforts less and less valuable. You know, as I get older and weaker, if you're fine with that, then, you know, first off, I don't want to hear a fucking thing you have to say. Like, I don't want to hear thing motherfucking one about thing fucking one. I don't want to hear anything you have to say if you are comfortable being robbed, right? Your children being robbed, your grandchildren being robbed forever. I don't want to hear your opinion or your observations about anything, because there's nothing you could tell me that I A, probably don't already know, or B, has any value other than you fucking turning fucking air into carbon dioxide. So this is what distinguishes my worldview from the worldview of political fairy tales, right? And people, you know, as I think about it, you know, of watching Trump's beefing with the government's beefing with Harvard and Columbia, and you know, their Columbia University, because it was a communist university where the Jewish communists from Germany went in the 1930s. They had a special deal with the NYPD. The NYPD would not go in there after the riots of the 60s and 70s. The 60s riots where there was old Jews rioting. You know, they made special rules where you can't come in and bang people in the head with a nightstick, because that's young Mr. Finkelstein, and he has a bright future ahead of him. But now, you know, the population of Columbia University is less kosher than it was, and you know, since the protests now are anti-Israel protests or pro-Palestine or whatever, however you want to look at it, all of a sudden the rules changed. The police not only can they come in and bash your head in, they can throw you in handcuffs and fucking deport you. The rules change real fucking fast, because the people in charge are the same people that were always in charge. And the way they stay in charge is they can make you starving and homeless. They can make anybody starving and homeless. And that's what has to be dismantled. That's what has to be destroyed in order for any sort of real human freedom to occur. In the meantime, you have a world full of people who are not fucking paying attention to anything in school ever. And I saw this video. This was pretty funny because this one is so painfully true. This is a prison tube video that I was very tickled to hear this.
You don't have Google in prison. What you have is ask a white guy. That's what the black guys and Hispanics guys, they be like, they get into a discussion. They go, well, where's a white guy? That was their Google. Ask a white guy. The commercial does a quick 15 or probably a 10-second depiction of the Boston Tea Party. And of course, Flea doesn't have a clue what this means, right? And so as we're watching it, he says, no, what's going on? What is that? And he goes, Cox, what are they doing? What is that with the Indians? Are those, what are they doing? And I said, it's the Boston Tea Party. They're just representing they're just showing the Boston Tea Party. What's that? I said, when we were a colony, I said the British were trying to tax the colonists and they put a tax on tea because we drank a lot of tea. I said, and as a result of that, I said, in protest, the colonists dressed up as Indians, broke into several ships and threw all the tea overboard. Snapple bought the rights to the water in the Boston harbor. They bottle it and sell it as Snapple. If you look at the Snapple, you can see the flakes of the tea in the Snapple. That's actually from the Boston harbor. And if you look at Snapple, I said the logo is an Indian. Actually, a colonist dressed as an Indian, but it just looks like an Indian. He goes, dang, man, I didn't know that. I said, yeah.
Okay, so obviously the dude's having a little fun with the ignoramuses in prison, but that's largely that is so painfully true to intellectual type people that they don't. I don't think you fully understand. Nobody's paying attention in school. No, they just all they do is pass that fucking test and they forget whatever they, get to be the teacher's pet or the teacher ignores them or whatever, and then they just get through it. And the minute they're done with school, everything they ever learned goes right out of their head. Like it's just gone. It does not exist. So this idea that you need 12 years of indoctrination to become a good citizen or whatever, it's complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But there's an enormous, gigantic fucking industry of many people who make a very good living off that, and you don't need to know that. There's nothing there you need to fucking know, and there's nothing there worth knowing. Nothing there worth knowing, because nothing you learned in school is going to fix this, right? Nothing you've ever learned in school is going to fix this problem. And this is a problem that's going to affect everybody. White guys, black guys, people in prison, people out of prison, people with expensive certificates from an impressive school, and people with no certificates from no school. This is going to affect every fucking one and every fucking thing. And nobody ever taught you about it, okay? And that's the only education worth having. It is the only education worth having. So now I'm driving around. I gotta figure out. I'm just gonna start hitting things and see what's what. What is this? Oh yeah, here's a perfect example of why you cannot fucking hate these fucking people enough. No matter how much you hate them, they always give you a fresh inspiration. And scientists have calculated how much meat you can sustainably eat in a week. This, of course, comes after the disastrous failure of that artificial meat, that plant-based meat, Beyond Meat, whatever, all this ridiculous artificial shit that nobody would fucking eat. It was a publicly traded company where the stock was like $300 at one point. It was like $275 or $300, and it steadily went to zero. And I think they're in bankruptcy now. But the idea that somebody's gonna put on a white lab coat. I went to an expensive school. I have a Bunsen burner. I have a beaker with some fucking bubbling fluid in it, and I have a fucking protractor in my pocket, and that makes me a scientist, which makes me smarter than you, which makes me gives me the ability to tell you what you can fucking do and you can't fucking do. And the imprimatur, right, the official seal of approval of science, tells you how much of what you can eat, and soon they'll tell you when you can eat it. And like I said, you can't hate them enough. They're little, you know, let's take meat away from the fucking poor people. First plan didn't work. The second plan is going to work, which is going to be hyperinflation. No one will be able to fucking afford it. But that's a separate issue. That's not really a plan on their part. That's just them fucking things up naturally. And meanwhile, what is this one? Is this the battery one? Is this the battery one? Show me. Yeah. So the future, like I said, is going to be powered by nuclear power, absolutely everywhere, fucking at all times. And I think the Chinese have actually already done this. They have batteries that will be made out of nuclear waste that will last for fucking ever, or 5 years of constant power. It's not a huge amount. It's like a battery that could run a cell phone. The good part of that is you won't have to buy those fucking power plugs for your cell phone anymore. The bad part of that is, you will be like, where's Matthew McConaughey again? Go back to Matthew McConaughey. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Yeah, you'll be like this. You'll be like that for 3 fucking years. If you think you're glued to your smartphone now, wait till the battery never goes dead. You know what I mean? You might as well just crazy glue it to your forehead. But yeah, the future is certainly the outlines of it are visible today if you look at the right things and you draw the right conclusions. And if you don't look at the right things and you don't draw the right conclusions, you will be fucking lost. There are so yeah, let's do. All right, I saw this the last time I actually was in, not just now, but like last week. Yeah, from the Washington Post, it said the Supreme Court is going to decide how much input parents have over schooling, and they have a group of homosexuals with rainbow-colored umbrellas in front of the Supreme Court, blowing bubbles because they want homosexual propaganda in the schools officially nationwide. You thought it was just gay marriage? You thought it was just Obama? Oh, hell no. Oh, fucking hell no. They are just getting warmed up. They're just getting warmed up. Where is where is it? No, not that one. Not that one. I think it is. Yeah, it's this one. So, and this is what's happening. Right, which one is it? Fucking. Hold on. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to. This is not as easy to do as I make it look. By the way, I know you think, oh, that looks pretty easy to do, but I assure you, blah, 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 it's not that easy. Let's see if this is the right one.
What in the North Korea style dear leader bullshit is this? I mean, I get that this is Florida, but come on. Even the...
Okay, so that woman's unimportant. So that's a drone show, right? That is the mandate of heaven. What is the drone show? The President of the United States dancing to a homosexual anthem. This happens to be right around the same time that gay activists are outside the Supreme Court demanding that homosexual propaganda be put in the school book, as well as the dancing, your president, your political leader dancing in the sky to the homosexual anthem. In addition to that, you have various propaganda messages. World's greatest deal maker. Really? I think if you showed that to somebody from China, they'd laugh so hard they'd piss themselves, right? The one deal that America needed to make to deal with China, the deal has not been made. Okay, peacemaker. Well, I guess once you get blasted into pink mist in your tent in Gaza, I guess things are pretty peaceful after that. But the people who are like that woman, she doesn't like Trump, and she doesn't, she's reading only the most superficial thing. Oh, this is like North Korea. Yeah, it's the mandate of heaven. But the people who choose to communicate this to you, what are they communicating to you, right? Your president, your political leader, dances to a homosexual anthem. And of course, it sort of goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, maybe making too fine of a point about this, but all of those drones that light up and do that shit, they're not made in America. They're made in China.
4、3、2、1，起飞。
So the Chinese are doing a similar thing to what America's doing, right? They're propagandizing their people with the drone show in the sky, the mandate of heaven. The difference is what the Chinese are showing their citizens is culturally relevant to them. The Great Wall, big flying dragons, the big tigers, and some Chinese writing, and some mountains and shit, and some girl dancing in a flower. And they show the director of the show, and they're giving her an award. But the difference between what they're doing and what America's doing is that what the Chinese is doing is relative to the Chinese. It's got nice music, it's uplifting, it inspires people, and you are getting someone basically shouting at you in Hebrew from the sky, and that's going to create two different political fairy tales, two very different political fairy tales. And if you think that China did the drone show better, I had news for you. China even does Donald Trump better.
This jacket was a little too baggy on Speed. You saw the live stream, right? But on me, it fits perfectly. He told me Chongqing's got one of the best night views in China. I don't know about this, right? You be the judge. Look how beautiful it is. Look how beautiful. But too bad he's gonna miss this. Because tonight, I'm gonna show you something that's even crazier. Behold, behold. Look at this. Thousands of drums all of a sudden appeared in the sky. You don't know where they come from. Although I should have known where they come from, but I just don't know, frankly speaking. And that is how smart, how good they are. Finally, some Chinese character, Chinese words there. Chongqing, right? I think it's got to be Chongqing. There's a huge card appear in the sky. They're showing off now. They're showing off. I think this is one of the models that made by Chang'an people. Chang'an is a very good card company. They have a lot of hardworking people, smart people, right? They make really strong electric cars. One of the best in Chongqing. One of the best in China. The car is driving in the sky. If you look closely, the car is moving downwards. This show is big, bold, and genius. Only Chongqing, a city like Chongqing, can pull this off. That's in my opinion. What is that? What is that? I think it's the blossom of economy. Look how huge the flower is. It's tremendous. You have to come to Chongqing and witness everything with your own eyes. That's the spirit of Chongqing. Speed was right. Chongqing's night view, it never gets old. It never ceases to surprise you. And thank you, Chang'an, for making everything happen. 谢谢冷静中继中继中继二五。
The Chinese Donald Trump is better than the real Donald Trump. He's more patriotic, and he's got the same musical soundtrack. But yeah, this is you know, you're getting gay propaganda shouted at you from the sky. So you think it's the mandate of heaven, and the Chinese are reinforcing a bunch of cultural beliefs, the flex on their industrial capacity, all that sort of stuff. It's going to create two very, very different responses to government action in both countries, right? Two very, very different ones. So. And that's, all of this, it isn't going to be enough to just pump shit through your smartphone. They're going to chase you around at night in the sky. It's the 21st century is going to be very, very, very interesting. Some things going to be super obvious. There's a historical thing that we sort of knew that we didn't know. What do I care? What do I care? I don't know what the fuck that is. All right, here's another reality about the U.S. government that nobody's talking about except this kid who's actually a pretty smart kid who managed to fucking rescue himself.
The US government wants you to be poor, and gambling helps make that happen. In 2023 alone, states made over $40 billion from legalized gambling. That's your money lost in casinos, lotteries, and sports books. They even use some of those losses to fund the advertising that gets you to gamble more. Why the push? Because the government taxes your wins and they tax your losses. So the more you keep playing, the more they win, regardless of if you win or the casino does. And they'll keep promoting it as fun because it's funding their budget. If you want to learn more about how shady the government is when it comes to gambling, then follow this page, because the amount that they're grossing is just the tip of the iceberg. It's about to get much, much worse, as over the next 5 years, Americans are expected to lose $1 trillion to commercialized gambling. Lose.
So they encourage you to have high time preference, to not think about what you're doing. They're devaluing the currency anyway. You might as well gamble it away. And the thing is, the number of people with gambling problems is pretty friggin' high in America, and gonna get higher. And that kid, he's actually a kid from Jersey, talks about how he got addicted to gambling when he was like 18 years old. And there are more people doing that than you know. And when they crash out, when they run out of fiat currency to feed their addiction, their dopamine addiction to betting on things, they're going to do bad things, like crazy, violent, stupid shit, because they can't get their dopamine fix anymore. And that is part of what you have to be aware of. You think it all looks normal on the surface, but this kid, it's amazing. That kid was talking about he'd go on a date, or he would go to a party or something like that, and he would excuse himself go in the bathroom and spin slots or bet on Korean baseball games or some shit like that. And he was a 19-year-old kid that, betting on a smartphone. And that the current generation is probably doing that a lot more than you think. One of the things I look at, or I notice when I go in and out of these convenience stores, these fried chicken joints or whatever, all the places I stop, is a lot of these retail clerk jobs. They have right on the door, get paid the same day. Work today, get paid tomorrow. And I'm like, wow. It's like, how high time preference is that? But you know what? If you're a gambling junkie, you need that money. You need to get high. You need to get your dopamine fix. And the world you live in is being engineered to be sicker and more dangerous than you can fucking imagine. This is that pudgy guy with glasses who talks too fast. He talks too fast and he gets some things wrong. But still in all, what he has to say in this video about healthcare is, again, another reason why you cannot possibly fucking hate them enough.
Uber created a cool new business model where you paid workers less and also treated them worse. But what if we applied that same logic to nurses? Would that be a scam? Find out in an incredibly frustrating episode of my hit series, Is It a Scam Yet? Uber took the taxi industry's 3 participants, riders, dispatch, and drivers, and figured out a way to make all 3 of them lose money at the same time. Drivers make way less than they used to driving cabs, and many of them lose money while they're working. Riders spend more money on ground transportation than they ever did, and somehow Uber lost $30 billion being the middleman. It's such an efficient system for setting money on fire that I can only assume that the word Uber is a German word that means to ruin on purpose. What if you took that same business model and applied it to, I don't know, caring for the sick? That's what's happening right now. Cory Doctorow talked about this on a recent podcast, and it was so bad, I'm genuinely shocked. The most obvious part is that workers lose consistency, accountable bosses, and those pesky health benefits. So now healthcare professionals can't go to the doctor. And this system makes workers bid against each other for who will do the same job for less money. And of course, hourly wages now have fees deducted. But these apps can be more sinister than even I imagined, and I am a dedicated cynic. They can use data brokers to buy information on different people on their app, like finding out which nurses have the largest amount of credit card debt, and then they can offer less money to people that they deem to be more desperate. That is so messed up, even Uber's founders never did that. Presumably because it hadn't occurred to them. So they're taking one of the most important jobs in society and they are full-on Uberizing it. But is it a scam? Yep.
Yeah, so there's that kid. I did not know they were going to do that to healthcare, but you can imagine them doing that to every single industry, making everybody, I don't know, contract employee like I am. And, while this job is, it's tedious and boring, it's other than making rich CEOs happy, it's not that important to society, right? Someone else could always do this. Nobody's life is on the line. If I'm late with a box full of fucking airplane parts, but you know what? If I take a nap on the side of the road or whatever, the car breaks down or I crash, they'll get somebody else to come pick up the box and deliver it. But if your nurse, is strung out, she has no money and has no food and is desperately taking an extra shift, like her 4th shift in a row or something like that, and she's working whatever, like 36 hours, and she's zonked out on God knows what kind of chemicals herself, and your life is on the line. She presses the wrong button, gives you the wrong drug, well, that's it for you, right? And the fact that could happen to anybody, young or old, in the healthcare system is insane. And the fact that this is allowed, that this is legal, is pretty fucking insane. And that's the world we are moving towards, whether you like it or not. And what's that other medical thing I got? The other medical thing I got is it's not super surprising, but the fact is you don't live in a free country anymore, and you're going to be coerced into making the choices they want you to make.
The NIH just announced that any medical researcher in the United States that boycotts Israel will have all of their federal funding terminated. This was officially announced by the NIH on April 21st. By accepting an NIH grant, you certify that you will not engage in and will not, during the term of this award, engage in a discriminatory prohibited boycott, refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies or companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized by under the laws of Israel to do business. That's the icing on top of all of this, is that the NIH is referencing the laws of a foreign country in its terms and conditions. If you're an American citizen boycotting a foreign country, then your US grants that support medical research that save American lives will be terminated. NIH reserves the right to terminate financial assistance awards and recover all funds if recipients during the term of this award operate any program in violation of federal anti-discriminatory laws or engage in a prohibited boycott. This also states that by accepting federal awards, you will not operate any programs that advance or promote DEI, DEIA, or discriminatory equity ideology in violation of the federal anti-discrimination laws. You can boycott any other country in the world and there is no issue, except for the country that couldn't last more than several months without American support.
To be honest, I don't think Israel could last more than several hours without American support. But this is, the dystopia that they're creating. Like I said a couple months ago, and I was repeating what someone else said, but it seems like the elites have read all the dystopian novels that were written in the 90s and 2000s and decided to use them as a business plan. What if we had nurses that couldn't afford to go see the doctor themselves? Like, you can't write this stuff. It's so fucking insane. And there's a little bit of pushback on stuff like this. There's this kid, some kids trying to be lighthearted about it, but there are people aware of just how dark this is getting.
So do you guys like come here often? What are you in here for?
Teenagers thinking they're going to get deported to El Salvador for online anti-Semitism. And they're probably not wrong. They're probably not wrong. What else do I got? What is that? I don't know what that fucking thing is. Now we're at the point in the show where I just randomly click on videos because I still don't remember what abbreviations I put. When I put an abbreviation for what's in the video, in the moment I tell myself I'm going to remember it. Now it's 3 days later. I'm on the highway. I have no idea what the fuck that abbreviation is.
We're staying in Chongqing in central China, and the hotels here are next level. We booked into this hotel for less than $100 a night. From the futuristic lobby to the in-room hot tub and the insane views of the city, we weren't sure if anything could top it. Until we checked into our next hotel and it had an even bigger in-room pool and a 5D immersive spa experience with rainfall, thunderstorms and the northern lights, all while we relaxed in their stormy spa. For less than $100 a night, hotels in China really are next level.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's it. Now, listen, I'm not trying to sell you a vacation in China or telling you should apply for Chinese citizenship, but you got to understand that what you just saw there, that, a hotel room where you can make it be whatever you want it to be, China's playing with that now, and it will come to America. It'll come to Vegas, Atlantic City, or New York, or whatever, and it'll be a lot more than $100. Yeah, people will go to a hotel to escape the reality of their lives because they wouldn't have the money to actually travel overseas or go anywhere. And they'll hit a couple of buttons, and the walls and the ceiling will turn into whatever fantasy world you want to see, and it's going to be a lot more, a lot better illusion than some other illusions. And speaking of political fairy tales, I saw this and on Instagram, and people started arguing with me about it. Or some guys arguing with me about it in Russian. I had no idea this bit of propaganda was out there, but it is perhaps the most fucking laughable, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I think the reason it's because of that you've never heard of this.
These giant statues honor the 28 Panfilov Guardsmen, a symbol of Soviet courage and sacrifice during World War II. In 1941, the Nazis were closing in on Moscow, but near village Dubasekovo, 28 Soviet soldiers stood their ground. Outnumbered, outgunned, but unbreakable, these 28 men, armed only with rifles and grenades, stopped the advance of a column of 54 German tanks. One by one they fell, but not before destroying 18 enemy tanks. All of them were named heroes of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, so excuse me, Alexei, I'll take shit that never happened for 500 rubles. So that's insane World War II propaganda. 28 guys stopped 50 tanks using rifles and hand grenades. Listen, the tanks wouldn't even fucking slow down. They would leave them as greasy red smears in the Russian fucking in the Russian soil in 28 seconds. But you know, governments will build that big, stupid, ugly fucking monument to something that never fucking happened. And there are people, you know, arguing with me. A bunch of us, a few people, you know, commented that this was comically impossible. But there are a lot of people who have communist flags in their bios who really believe that should happen. And you know, what are you going to do about that? There's nothing. They're living in their fucking fantasy world. And oh shit! So no, that's what that fucking amber lamps was doing. So the amber lamps that you see going by right there, apparently somebody maybe was doing a live stream and had a massive wreck. But here's another political fairy tale, almost as bad as the Soviet one. You know, this was from last week. It's kind of gone away. But can Trump fire Jerome Powell? The Supreme Court could make it easier. No, Trump cannot fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. That cannot be done, and you would think that some people would know this, but they don't know it. You know, they don't know it, and they're never gonna fucking know it. They're gonna ask these stupid questions because the Trump humpers like to think that's gonna happen, but it is never going to happen. It's never gonna happen. One is that one. It's never gonna happen. But what else do I have? What else do I have? All the China stuff, the gay stuff, blah 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 blah. Kid in the prison. Yeah. So let's see. Do we have any comments? We have Virgil Doc, Purple Heart. Welcome to the show, sir. Do we have anyone else? I don't think so. I was just you are riding solo tonight, Virgil Doc. But we know where this is headed, right? There's no way to look at this in any direction at anything and think, oh, they're going to come to their senses. Oh, they're going to make the dollar worth, increase the value of the dollar, make it easy, shorten your work week. You know, where's that one? Look, I don't think I put it up. But there was a one of those side-by-side comparo things. What was this one? When did I pull that one up? And wait a minute. Shit. There was it was a thing on Amazon. It said, Amazon record profits, blah 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 blah. It said half of Amazon workers can't, can't afford to pay their rent. But the nonstop gaslighting, right? Somebody put this up. I don't know if it's on Twitter or whatever. Said we went from millennials can't buy homes because they go out to eat too often to millennials are killing the restaurant industry by being too frugal. And your new lunch habit is hurting the economy. More people are bringing lunch to work, and restaurants are selling fewer lunches than they did in 2020. Yeah, because people are fucking broke, and they're trying to cut back in every way they can, and it's becoming more and more and more difficult. So if you eat avocado toast, you're a bad person, and if you brown bag your lunch, you are also a bad person. And with this nonstop propagandizing of people, and they believe this shit. Like normies believe this shit, right? What did I do? Did I put it up there twice? I think I did put it up there twice. Normies believe this stuff. I was talking with somebody about the phony space launch, and I said, "Could you believe how fucking comically bad that was? That was such a terrible hoax." And the person looked at me and said, "No, Katy Perry went to space. Jeff Bezos is rich. He sent his wife and her friends to space." And I looked at them, and they really believed it. Like they really believed that it happened. And I'm like, "Oh fucking," I was like, "You don't know that was a hoax?" I was like, I got videos here. I'll show you. It was a hoax, and they had no interest. They had no. I don't know what media they watch or what TV stations they watch, but they saw in the news that Jeff Bezos sent his girlfriend to space in a private rocket, and they believe that. So they believe that millennials can't afford houses because of avocado toast, and next week you tell them millennials can't afford houses because they're brown bagging their lunch, and they'll believe that too. It's very, very 1984-ish. People are comfortable believing their political fairy tales. You want to believe that whatever 28 infantrymen stopped in advance a column of 51 tanks. Yeah, go ahead and believe that. I'm not going to share your worldview, right? That's your own private little dream world. But I'm not going to share that with you. But you can go ahead and believe it. Just don't expect people outside of your skull to go along with it. And all of this leads back to the same thing I say every week, in which is you have to protect yourself. You just have to protect yourself. And if you really were, where is it? Yeah, I'll show that in a minute. If you really learned what you think you learned, if you really observed what you think you've observed, if you think, oh, all that noticing and all that red pilling, and as you sat there writing chapter, 1029 of your 1030 fucking reasons why democracy sucks, if you really understood what these people were going to do, then you would take some kind of advantage of it. And perhaps in previous times you couldn't, but now you can. And the same principle, like I showed last week, of predictability applies in this example as well. This is not MMA, but this is boxing.
This is a subtle mistake that can lose fights. Canelo has a tendency to move forward with his rear foot first, then his lead foot after. He does this to pressure larger opponents back and to set up traps with distance deception. But Dimitri Bivol used this to dismantle Canelo in their fight by timing Canelo in the middle of his rear foot step forward. This works so well because once Canelo steps his rear foot forward, he's left in a narrow stance where he can't counter or move until he steps his lead foot forward to adjust his stance. And the reason Bivol was able to time Canelo's rear foot step was because Canelo had a tell. He would lean forward on his lead foot before beginning his rear foot step. He did this to set traps, but Bivol took advantage, so Bivol would attack after the lean in and would catch Canelo off his stance.
So, another example from combat sports. If you know what your opponent's going to do before he does it, you can take advantage of that. you can make it work to your advantage. You can neutralize his advantage. So here's what you know. The people who have the keys to the money printer are going to make the money worth less and less and less, right? And that things that are not denominated in US dollars are going to be worth more and more and more. And so it behooves you to get rid of your permission slips, your slavery coupons, which are becoming more worthless anyway, in favor of something which is growing in value. Why? If for no other fucking reason than out of straight spite, just out of spite, make it so that they can never have that, right? Make it so, you know, every dollar you turn into Bitcoin is a little bit of Bitcoin that they will not own or control. And if that isn't enough motivation for you, I don't know what is, right? You know what they're going to do. You know they're going to hyperinflate the currency. All this shit between Trump and China, this and that, blah, 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 blah. They'll smooth it over in one way or another. Both sides will claim victory. But everyone else will fucking suffer. Maybe the Chinese won't suffer as bad as we will, but we will definitely suffer. And since you can see clearly what is going to happen before it happens, you should firstly smash up the like button, and secondarily, you should take advantage of the pattern you notice your enemy taking. Because, I mean, if you really think, if you, I don't know what age you are, but if you think there's going to be Social Security in 15 or 20 years, you're crazy. You know what I mean? It might not even be around in 10 years. So if you know what's going to happen, take advantage of it, right? And that way, you won't be a victim. And who knows, you might actually be able to save someone else. It's possible, not likely, but it's possible. It is possible. So with that, man, I don't know what to do now. I'm sitting here in traffic, going fucking nowhere because of somebody doing something stupid, and now the entire highway is it's fucking jammed up. Oh well, that's that. Tomorrow will be a nice day. I have the boomer cycle. I have the boomer cycle ready to go. I was gonna. Since I have nothing but time, I was gonna sell the boomer cycle, and I put an ad in Facebook. And this is a fairly straightforward sort of thing, right? You would think like, okay, I have something to sell, put it on Facebook or whatever. There's no more newspapers, no more classified ads. And, you know, whoever's interested comes by. And the way it generally works with used vehicles, whatever the price is, they show up with that amount in cash. They take the vehicle out, they test ride it, whether it's a motorcycle or a car or whatever. So you say like, well, you know, I want X amount of dollars for the bike. You give it to me in cash. You take the bike out for 15, 20 minutes. If you crash it, you bought it. If you don't like it, you bring it back in the same condition it left. I give you back your money, and that's that. Everyone's happy. You would think that'd be straightforward enough. Of course, you get all the standard people offering you like half. Oh, will you take half, 50%, right? You know, whatever you want. Like you want 5,000, they're like, hey, will you take 2,500 tomorrow? And everyone that says that, of course, has never even seen $2,500 in one place. But you get the idea. You just block them. They're not worth your time. And Friday night, somebody messages me, hey, can I come see the bike tomorrow? And so I messaged him back. I said, you coming to test ride it, or you just want to kick the tires, you know? And then the guy says, nope. He says, I have 3 motorcycles. 2 of them are the exact same model of the one I'm selling, and I'm going to vet this for a friend of mine. I said, I got to vet the machine to make sure my friend should buy it. So I'm like, I was like, okay. I said, I didn't say who's your friend. I said, I said, yeah, you want to come with your friend tomorrow and test ride the bike instead of him test riding the bike? That's fine, as long as I got cash in hand. I don't care. And I said, by the way, I said, nobody said they were coming by Saturday. I said, so who's your friend? And he says, he messaged me back, Max. I'm like, Max? The fuck? I looked through all the people who messaged me about the bike. There's no Max. I was like, dude, there's nobody named Max even contacted me. Are you sure you got the right ad? He goes, oh yeah, I got the right ad. Max lives in my building, and he's a friend of mine. And I'm like, he's just like, all this fucking weirdo shit. I'm like, I don't know if I'm talking to fucking AI or somebody who's sitting in a fucking straitjacket, chained to a wall, eating Jello with his toes. I don't know, right? But and this sort of thing. Admittedly, it tends to happen with two-wheeled vehicles, but people are absolutely fucking bizarre. They're out of their minds. And they make no fucking sense. Like, why would you want to do this? You know? And I just said, listen, this is too weird and pointless. And I blocked the guy and moved on. But the simplest of transactions, you know, becomes unnecessarily complex with people who are mentally fucking ill. They're living, you know, they're not processing reality in the same way as everyone else. And you need to watch out for that. And that exists in a bunch of different ways, whether it's a political fairy tale about, you know, fascists taking over America. You know, where's my fascist bros? Where's my fascist bros? Where you at? Where are you at? Here we go.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the deck like fuck. Must have on a beat, bro, deep boat in rap. He a freak though, man down, call like Ember Lambs, tell him breathe.
You got to remember, real fascism has not been tried yet. Repeat that again. That's actually chapter 2 of my book, Why Democracy Sucks. Real fascism hasn't been tried yet. You have the real fascism hasn't been tried yet, people. You have the communists running around saying we don't have enough communism. You have all this crazy shit, and you're like, you know, you're just trying to get to the finish line without having to fucking eat sawdust and termites, which is not a very good outcome. And the longer you hold on to the promises of central bankers, whoever those central bankers are, whether they wear small hats or they repeat the same political fairy tales you like to fucking hear, the worse you're going to be. So fight back. You understand what they're going to do, and you need to act before they do. You must act before they do. And with that, is there anything I missed? And there's a couple things on it. It's like I don't really care. I really don't care about this other couple videos I won't bother showing. Anyway, I'm fucking stuck here, and I literally at this point have nothing left to talk about. So what I'm going to do is say, Virgil Dark Purple Heart, thanks for stopping by. And everyone else, did anyone else show up? No, just that one. Why do I have to do that? I hate having to do that stupid link thing. I don't want to make that get off the screen. Oh, well, fuck it. Virgil Dark Purple Heart, thanks for stopping by. And everyone else that's going to stop by in the coming week, smash up the like button, and I will talk to you guys again next week. Hopefully, I will be out of this traffic by that time.